up, Buff Nation? Welcome into DNVR Buffs Primetime. We're presented by Illegal Pete's, everyone's go-to spot for burritos, buddies, and beers.
Let's go.
And I'm joined by my buddy, Andre Simone.
Damn straight.
What's up, brother?
I was wondering when you'd finally have me on once the Buffs started winning games. It took 2 weeks, but here I am, huh?
I mean, you know you have a seat whenever you want.
Hey, I sure hope so, because I know this is a popular pod and everyone wants to be on. Always a pleasure to be here. And I got to represent my brand. It's a pleasure to be here, but I got to be a little sassy while I introduce myself. So you know how it is.
The people want Sassy Dre.
They want Sassy Dre. I've heard you, and I will deliver. Yes, absolutely.
Yes, NHJ. We're back. Man, a lot's changed since the last time you were on this show.
My God. Whew. What an off season we had, huh? What an off season. I mean, where else do people hype up Bishop Thomas blocking highlights and then it comes true in the TCU game?
Yes.
Like, do we know ball or do we know ball, man?
We know ball so damn well.
We know ball so good. It's crazy.
It's insane.
And man, I mean, Buffs football, like, it's all I want to do right now. Just watch the Buffs play football. I want to think about the Buffs playing football. It is just an hourly obsession.
Let's get into it then. We just had a pretty awesome football game on Saturday. The Buffs beat the hell out of the Corn Huskers.
It's a fun one.
36-14. I've already talked a lot about this game. What were your main takeaways from the Buffs beatdown of the Huskers?
I guess I'd start with the headline is probably with the near impossible task of improving on the week one performance. I think Shedeur did improve on the week one performance. Mm-hmm. Certainly not as clean an outing as it was in TCU, where he was, I mean, truly surgical. And I mean, what a testament to Sean Lewis and Shedeur and that entire offense being able to play at that kind of tempo with that kind of efficiency on the very first week playing all together. But what Shedeur did against Nebraska, as far as just his composure, his elusiveness, showing just his feel. I mean, that throw as he's floating to his left and just guns it to the left sideline is...
The one to Travis?
Yeah, it's... To call it an NFL throw is almost reductive. It is the end-all, be-all of NFL throws. It's the easiest way to evaluate someone's arm talent and strength is being able to float away from your arm side and still deliver it with perfect combination of timing, placement, and power, because driving that ball to the sideline on a frozen rope like that is very hard. And on top of that, you are doing it on third down. You and I were talking a couple days ago, during the NFL at the Broncos tailgate, on how Shedeur's command and efficiency on third down is something I haven't watched a football team that I'm invested in execute on third down and have the kind of confidence I have in the Buffs offense when they are put in third down situations since Peyton Manning was the Broncos quarterback. It's just, you just know he's going to make the right decision on third down. Sometimes it's a disappointing decision because, I thought we were going to convert that one.
Right.
But it's just this utmost confidence of it's like watching Steph Curry where you're surprised he misses a three, where it's like, brother, the best ones in the world are completing 38% of these.
Exactly.
You shouldn't be disappointed when he doesn't hit one. That's the norm, not the exception. And yet he has made the norm the exception and is just incredible. So, I mean, that offense and what Shedeur was doing against Nebraska really stood out. And I was so happy to see the defense ball out. Mm-hmm. Finally, this front seven that you and I have been quite excited about.
Oh, yeah.
We've talked about a lot of these guys through the summer. Really had some big games. For one, how badass does Taj Alston look in a Buffs uniform with that 49? Yes. It's just like the second you see 49 on the field, it's like, whoa, who's that? Yeah. Jordan Dominic dominated that game.
Yes,
Obviously, he has that huge pressure at the end of the TCU game, right, to force the incompletion, the rush pass on fourth down, but he just dominated end to end. His strength was key against that Cornhusker run game. So front seven really stood out to me. Leonard Payne, my guy. I think I can claim Leonard Payne was really crucial in the trenches, and I think will be a key to that defensive line going forward. So yeah, man, those would be my biggest takeaways, and I keep being so impressed by this Buffs offensive line.
It was, I rewatched the game yesterday, and it was just dominant. It was a slow start, but when they got rolling in the second half and Shedeur was just cooking, it was dominant. And I love what we saw from Shedeur. He put up great numbers, but week 1 against TCU, we saw him dice up a defense who wanted to play man coverage. This last week, he got to sit back. He kind of got both of it. He got blitzed a lot in the first half. Yep. But in the second half, he was just dicing up drop 8, drop 7 coverage. Mm-hmm. Showing just how good he is in the mental processing and just the decision-making part of his game. Even when he got sacked, he's not doing the Bo Nix where he's flipping the ball up in the air and he takes the sacks he needs to take. Yes. He's smart enough to do that. You talking about them blitzing in the first half, there's one play where he knows there's a free rusher coming, stares him down, gets the ball out on time, and with accuracy, and I think that was another third down they converted. The one to Zay, right? Down the field?
He's so methodical, man. He's so efficient in his decision-making. It is so rare for a college quarterback.
Mel Kiper moved him up to QB3. I said in our draft pod yesterday, I had him at QB2. At this point,
I had him at QB3 as well, yep.
At this point, so many people have Caleb Williams QB1. I might feel comfortable enough putting Shedeur there because he is just looking dominant. He's going to dice up CSU this weekend. And we're going to get to, previewing this game and, of course, looking a little too far ahead. But this matchup with Oregon and USC coming down the pipeline, what a stage to prove who you are and that you are one of the best, if not the best, quarterbacks in the country.
The Caleb Williams argument is really fun because they are almost, you read the scouting reports, and they won't exactly read oppositely, but they are very opposite ends of the elite QB prospect spectrum,
Mm-hmm. Yep.
One is so insane off script and just has such a powerful arm, and the other one is such an efficient decision maker, just thinks the game so at such a high level for a kid his age. It's going to be fascinating to follow all year long. And I know I'm trying not to get ahead of myself as well, and I kind of can't help it.
I know. We know what's going to happen this weekend.
Oregon and Bo Nix feel like that's a competitive matchup. I don't want to get ahead of myself. And then, gosh, if you were to take care of business in Eugene, I cannot imagine what that matchup with Lincoln Riley, Caleb Williams, the most explosive freshman in the country.
Zachariah Branch is insane.
What a freak! All coming to Folsom in a scenario that would have them ranked in the top 4 and the Buffs ranked in the top 10. But we are not going to get ahead of ourselves yet, Jake.
We've
got a lot of great football to be played until then.
We'll talk a little bit about CSU today. We'll mostly get to them later on in the week. Just a few more quick things on Saturday's game. Xavier Weaver absolutely balled out. Solidified himself as one of the best receivers in the country. The Senior Bowl's tweeting about him, saying that this guy's a real riser.
Yeah.
I think it was Coach Box today or earlier yesterday saying that this guy's an NFL receiver. We already heard that from Coach Bartoloni.
That same roundtable that has Mel Kiper moving Shedeur up on ESPN also mentions Xavier Weaver as one of 3 risers in the league. His body control, his hands,
route running,
the way he positions his body. It's just
good.
Set and forget. NFL player. It's going to be another loaded wide receiver class, no doubt about it. Mm-hmm. But I think he's already being considered, in that top 100 range, which is where you project future NFL starters.
Nope. We talked to Zay and Coach today. We'll get to that in the next segment. One more thing from Saturday's game. Tank won Pac-12 Offensive Lineman of the Week.
Wow.
He allowed just 1 pressure on 55 plays. PFF gave him a pass blocking efficiency of 99.1%. His PFF grade this season is 90.2. That is the 13th best in the nation. I don't know if that's just tackles or if that's all offensive linemen. But either way, I mean, this guy, even last year when he stepped onto the field, it was like, oh my God, who's this at left tackle now? He played well last year. He's really seemed to take his game to another level in the offseason. Just, I mean, I know we don't see a lot or the whole picture from Well-Off, but just from the lot we saw from Well-Off, he looked great, and he's been playing fantastic. When Shedeur is facing pressure and stuff, a lot of it's just right up the middle.
Yeah.
Blitzes, it's like they're just outnumbered on the offensive line. Dylan, obviously a smaller back, sometimes isn't the best matchup in pass pro.
Sure.
So there's things that need to be worked on, but you have a stud left tackle.
And I mean, Tank's leaning on guys in the run game, man. I'm not surprised, but I think they've got that in their bag when they need to go to it. Is they could run the ball a whole lot more.
Oh, yeah.
Obviously, I mean, you can't go wrong with putting the ball in Shedeur's hands as often as possible. But that O-line, first off, it schemes so beautifully. I mean, I was showing you the play I was going crazy over from that TCU game.
Yeah.
I was showing it to Todd Davis, having him kind of break it down for me from his perspective, how hard that'd be to defend from an off-ball linebacker's perspective. And you just see Tank above all else really getting to the second level, really moving well, and really leaning onto guys and just using that endless reach he has to just like engulf guys and make sure that they just go away. Once Tank gets on you, it's night-night. Like, get ready for the next play because you are done for this one. And I mean, wow. He was on the Senior Bowl watch list coming into the season,
was.
right?
Yes.
And I mean, the size alone, when you prep this stuff, there are some positions where you just need to look at the numbers on the roster sometimes to be like, okay, if this guy's not a complete stiff, we might have something here. God, is he playing good.
And then Savion Washington. Did you see the block he laid on one of the cornerbacks on that Tarvaris Dawson end around? Just buried someone.
Dude, the Sean Lewis scheme really lends itself to these guys really being comfortable on the move.
Yep.
And that's when you have those tone-setting blocks, man. Like anyone in football, give them a head of steam, they're going to do better than from a flat start, right? And I mean, yeah, you get stuff like that. And there's nothing I love more than a good pull, man. Put an O-lineman in, on the move and let's get going. Let's lean on some people. Let's grind them out. And you see plays like that, and it gets me so hyped. So hyped.
It's a fun offense, man. I love watching it. I'm excited to see just the next evolution of it because it's not just a one-trick pony. It's not just we do this and we're just going to do this and hope it works.
Right.
They have many different...
It's very multiple.
I mean, many different, I don't want to say schemes, but just many different things they can do. They have so many different players they can put in to change the dynamic. Tarvaris Dawson's speed just absolutely changes things. We don't even have Alton McCaskill, their best running back, on the field yet. So
who brings a completely different dimension to all of this.
So, and I'm sure you guys saw the clip. I mean, this team isn't in its final form yet. It's insane. We're getting Travis Jay and Brendan Gant on the field now. Coach Prime talked about them today. He said he needs to see them on the field. He's not ready to kind of put expectations on when they'll play and stuff yet. We know Alton's working back, hopefully by the Oregon game when we should see him. Cormani's still grinding away too. We're going to see him at some point. Haven't seen these 4-star freshman wide receivers. Javon Antonio's been hurt. I mean, Tyler Brown's not even on the field. It's insane. This team has not even reached the ceiling yet.
Well, what I mean, it's just like we've seen these wide receivers pop right off the get. We've seen the line pop right off the get. Took the defense a game to get, right? Like Jordan Dominic, as advertised, week 2. How many more guys are going to, Jeremiah Brown has played.
Yes.
It hasn't been the JB we necessarily all expected.
Right.
Where could he be in a couple weeks, as speed catches up and all that,
Demoy Kennedy.
Yes, right. I mean, it's just like we're here, but we are still coming. There's still plenty of talent that's on its way. Yeah.
It's crazy, and there's more talent visiting this weekend. We'll get to that later today. But we got some stuff to address that happened over the weekend. Shout out to our friends over at Kind Love.
Let's go.
One of the OG dispensaries in town. They've been doing it since 2010.
Absolutely.
They've got their Turbo Core line, their Turbo Joint line with the Turbo Core already in there, or you can just get the inserts, put them into any cigarette, joint, blunt, whatever you want to use to get your high. They also have the Get It While It's Hot shelf, eighths out the door for $20 and ounces out the door for $100. Just shout out to these guys, man. They're awesome. They were at our tailgate on Sunday as well. So make sure you stop by there and you can speak to them and get the hookup. Or visit one of their stores in Cherry Creek or North Denver. Mention DNVR and receive the DNVR exclusive discount, 25% off all Kind Love flower, pre-rolls, and their Turbo Joint line. You can also visit their website at kindlove.com and use that code DNVR for their full online order or for online ordering and their extensive menu. Then shout out to Broken Tee. Broken Tee is one of the premier golf courses in the city. They got 27 total holes, an award-winning practice facility, an 18-hole championship course, and a challenging par 3. Check out Wyatt's, their great restaurant there. They got a charity tournament on Friday, September 22nd. Head on over to BrokenTeeGolf.com to make tee times. Check out that charity event and get all the latest updates. Make sure you use that code DNVR10. You'll get 10% off any round on their regulation course. All right, Dre, you ready?
I'm ready, man.
The drama of the weekend. Shedeur versus Matt Rhule.
Yeah.
So Coach Prime was asked about it today because Matt Rhule responded to what happened on the field yesterday. He said, Matt Rhule said, his words, they were praying at midfield. He would never disrespect an opponent.
Oh, goodness.
And that's... He has nothing but respect for he said Coach Sanders, and all this stuff, blah, blah, blah. Coach Prime was asked about it today. He said, he said they were praying, and I'm cool with that. And then he basically kind of just brushed it off. We're on let's move on. We're on the Colorado State. But let's talk about it. Because what happened, what we saw was, you watch Well Off. Yep. The Nebraska team, like literally fresh off the bus, they all have their bags of equipment and stuff, everything. Yeah. Walk straight to midfield over the Ralphie logo.
Was step one.
And are just kind of hanging out, we know this is a rivalry. They're just chilling. And then Shedeur walks over to break it up. The quarterback of the team to get their rival off of his logo on his field. And people are so upset about what Shedeur did because he flashed his wrist. He's one of the top. He is the top NIL valuation in the country now by like 1.2 million. It's a sizable margin. So people are, dogging on Shedeur for his arrogance and his money and flashing his watch and blah, blah, blah. Meanwhile, the away team just comes and stands. First thing they do when they get to the stadium on midfield. Your thoughts?
So, first off, we never, there's no video I've seen of them kneeling, huddling together, or doing anything that resembles a group prayer.
Yes.
Also, it would be weird to do a group prayer as we haven't even... We are walking off the bus and going to the visitors' locker room to drop our bags off and get set up to warm up and do all that, right? Like, Shedeur's there early with his quarterback coach. Bucky's getting video. There's basically just the students in the same. It's still very early. I've seen no praying. I've seen none. And the internet would have been shoveling that out if there was that. It also, we can get mad about Shedeur's gesture or whatever, which I think is very mild in the greater scheme of things. And it's just like, hey, man, watch. This is who I am, and you're about to find out why I've got this rolly on my wrist. And yeah, it seemed like just a very cowardly way of just kind of poking the bear while also having some deniability, you know, like I'm an older brother, like I know how to mess with my sisters,
Exactly.
you know, like,
yes.
oh, you sit there, you're like, I'm not touching you, but you know, you're like, it felt very much like that. The other thing that, you know, we can get very reactionary about the gesture of simply flashing the rollie. What we don't talk about is 90% of the time, these kind of situations go way worse than anything Shedeur did.
Yes.
Shedeur simply flashed the rollie, let his displeasure be known. Again, the displeasure he let be known did not seem that of a person who had just been invited over for a group prayer, which I believe Matt Pinocchio Rhule also mentioned. And then left off, put his hands up as if to say, you know, okay, you've done your thing.
Yep.
I see you. And then you hear the Buffs talking about that as they're warming up, as they're getting hyped up in the huddle. It's McClendon, right? He's talking about that, leading the huddle. Like, hey, this is how they want to go about their business. It's time to show them what's up. And it got settled on the field, and I'm glad we're moving on.
It's funny because Nebraska fans in particular are saying, you know, one, Matt Rhule did nothing wrong, and two, Matt Rhule didn't say anything in the offseason. But he's been very, very particular and honestly kind of smart in the way he said things.
Yeah.
Because he is doing this, you know, plausible deniability thing, you know, like a big brother who gets in trouble. Like, oh, I didn't know I was doing that. I'm just trying to do my thing.
Oh, yeah. He maintained plausible deniability through this all. Unlucky for him, you do a daily podcast.
Yeah.
And you needed to find things to talk about every single day during the slow days in the summer.
Yep.
So when Matt Rhule was going on a podcast with Will Compton and talking about, I met with my players last night, I didn't have any cameras in there, and we all knew exactly what he was alluding to and who he was talking about. And he talked about, I'm all about the players, man.
Yep.
It's not about me.
Yep.
And all this kind of stuff. We remember that. We remember those conversations. And we were saying, okay, well, we'll see you in Boulder.
Also, when the portal opened back in April, after the spring game, when Coach Prime was not shy about being excited about the portal opening because he knew, and you know, you look back now, he was ready to get a lot of the old guys out and get new guys in.
Yeah.
And Coach Rhule had the comment, I'm not excited about the portal opening. I know a lot of other teams are, basically. I'm excited to coach my guys.
That's right. That's right.
You can't say these things and then go, oh, I wasn't talking about Coach Prime, when it's obvious exactly who you were talking about.
Yeah, it sure is.
And then just back to Saturday, one more thing before we move on.
And I mean, this all plays into a greater theme of like people just like shoveling shit on Shedeur, on Coach Prime at every chance they get.
Of course.
Trying to pick out like, oh, they're not doing it the right way. Oh, they're arrogant, blah, blah, blah. Which, you know, is the kind of shit Coach Prime's been hearing since probably he was a high school recruit before he even put on a Seminoles uniform, you know. So, I mean, just par for the course, guys.
What did he expect? You bring your team onto your biggest rival's logo at midfield.
Yeah.
I don't care if you're praying, if you are singing a song and dance, if you're just hanging out. You are asking for it when you do that. And Shedeur came over to set the record straight and make sure they don't disrespect his field and his team, his program. So it is what it is. I don't know what you expected.
Absolutely, man. And I think they thought they would rattle Shedeur and the rest of the squad more. And part of how great Coach Prime and his staff have coached this team is 2 weeks in, you can tell they have a Alabama level composure and focus to them where they're not going to be rattled by petty bullshit.
Right.
They're going to use it as motivation for sure, but they're not going to be rattled or derailed by it. No way.
No.
They're extremely disciplined. One of the most disciplined teams I've seen in a pretty long time.
It's very impressive.
Locally,
man. They're so well coached. All right, that's that. Moving on. And I hope we don't have to talk about Nebraska for at least another year or so at this point because they're irrelevant.
They are irrelevant, but, they give us more content. We'll talk about it and yuck it up. It'll be a grand old time. No problem.
The other piece of drama, and this is a serious situation, but it's very close to CU and the trajectory of the program and where we're at now. Basically, how we got to this point wouldn't have happened if Mel Tucker wasn't Midnight Mel, left during the middle of the night. He is in some trouble.
My goodness.
Potential Title IX violations, sexual harassment. He's been suspended by Michigan State head coach. Brett McMurphy put out a tweet that he was fired.
Yep.
That was initially
the early report.
Yeah, that was initially clarified by Adam Schefter, Pete Thamel, and a bunch of people at ESPN that he has been suspended. Michigan State is going to have a hearing, a Title IX hearing that begins on October 5th. I think it just goes through the next day, October 6th. So we will get a decision, I think, around then. But since all this is unfolded, he is suspended from the program.
Yeah.
And karma.
Disgusting situation. There's a fine line between the people who sell it and behind that salesman aesthetic is a pretty grimy, unethical person, who puts their personal success above all else.
Yep.
And the dangers and harm that can do to the people around you, including often the program you are entrusted and paid handsomely to shepherd, really. Then there's, all the other really, really disgusting stuff. I've just kind of, from a distance, the read I get on this is the university's basically just trying to cover their ass legally,
Exactly.
as this is a very touchy and complex situation. You as an institution, I think, would want to stay away from this kind of stuff as much as possible. This is a Michigan State program that was just completely buried in scandals in the late 90s, early 2000s,
Yep.
and didn't really right the ship till Mike D'Antonio came. They obviously gave Mel Tucker a ton of money, and I'm sure a big part of covering their asses is trying to, fire him through the appropriate channels so that they can get back as much of that as possible.
Mm-hmm.
It's ultimately a very sad situation. And, what a bullet this institution was able to dodge.
Yep, literally.
And, Michigan State, what happens with that? That is a ginormous job that is coming open very early in the season.
Yep. People are commenting all this stuff. We're not going to get into this situation, guys. We don't know, and we're not going to comment on something we don't know about. But
Yes.
Just as it relates to CU, it's just funny how things work out sometimes where usually there's always something better on the horizon, even after the worst things happen to you. And that's kind of what happened to CU. A lot of fans thought this program was really on the rise with Mel Tucker. He was going to get them back to not only relevancy, but being able to compete for conference titles. Of course, he leaves in late February, I believe. Really screws over the program. Carl Durrell comes in. Carl Durrell isn't able to get it going here, and that's what results in Coach Prime. So it's funny how life works sometimes.
Timing, man.
Yeah.
Timing is truly everything in life, and the timing in retrospect of all that was kind of perfect.
Yep.
Crazy.
All right, real quick, back to football. We talked about this on the post-game show, kind of theorizing where this team would be ranked. So I'm just going to pat myself on the back. I said 18th. Colorado Buffaloes are 18th in the country.
Nailed it.
The Pac-12 this year looks so strong.
It's the best conference in the country.
It is. I think so too. We've
Yeah.
got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 teams in the top 25.
Yeah, and Wazoo just had a statement win.
Yeah, they did.
And it's also like the Heisman candidate list would be dominated by Pac-12 guys as well. It's it's really wild.
It's incredible is what it is.
And I mean, that's another, like, timing is everything, man.
Yeah.
Like, this isn't college sports are not a meritocracy,
Mm-hmm.
The field and the results on the field are not what's going to get you paid. I mean, maybe, if for a super long period of time, sure, that might be one of the things that's led to bigger fan bases and bigger alumni bases and more money and blah, blah, blah. But ultimately, I mean, so much of this comes down to big money deals and the timing of them. And this was just not the first two fiscal quarters to need a new TV deal, man. It just wasn't. Like, in the last decade, it was the worst 6 months window you could have possibly found.
Yep.
To monetize that.
This is what happens when you have poor leadership. And not
shame.
just, I'm not talking about Commissioner Kolovkov. It's poor leadership for the last 10 plus years. Like, they haven't been able to figure it out with Larry Scott. Kolovkov comes in. He's got to pick up, clean up after that mess. And then he's got this media deal mess that he finds himself in. The conference basically collapses now. Oregon State and Washington State file like a restraining order against the Pac-12, and that's, I don't know if a judge denied it or something. The Pac-12 is not allowed to meet.
Yep.
It's insane right now that this conference is as strong as it's ever been, and it's almost just like it's going to be an afterthought at the end of the day because no one's going to be here next year. It's the end of the conference.
It's so crazy that they peaked in this final year. And really, a lot of it has come down to UFC obviously made the splash hire of all splash hires. Like a couple different institutions had a bit of a awakening moment of like, wow, we need to rededicate ourselves and our resources to college football, which kind of came post-COVID. We saw this happen with Miami and a couple other institutions. After that, though, it's much more colleges just making astute hires that worked for them, and very quickly, Washington, Oregon State, Colorado, of course, Washington State, and UCLA have been able to turn things around with hires that weren't necessarily slam dunk hires.
Right.
I mean, even Dan Lanning, top-ish candidate, but Oregon was a bit put in a tough spot with Cristobal leaving so early, but they make the best of it and they're figuring stuff out too. It's really impressive because this isn't how the Big Ten has kind of turned things around the last 5 years. And it was like, well, yeah, they just invested a lot of that Big Ten TV money and like look around at the coaches in the conference and they're just better than what they used to be, you know? It's just been some really astute hires. And I'm so curious how these teams are going to compete next year in all their new conferences.
It's going to be insane, but I
honestly can't wait to place a Buffs future on winning the Big 12 in 24.
Let's go.
Right? Like, doesn't that sound so fun?
Yeah, I can't wait, man.
I also think they're a great bet.
If this is how we're looking already, 2 games through.
Awesome. Yeah.
2 games through and year 2 is going to be pretty insane to watch, I believe,
it's going to be an incredible conference. It's going to be the best basketball conference in the country. Like,
yep.
It's sad for the Pac, no doubt about it, but I do think there's a lot to be excited about with this new Big 12 conference. I think they've got something cooking.
All right, let's talk about what Coach Prime and Zay had to say today, and then some of the Louis luggage coming to town this weekend. First, a word from our friends over at Breckenridge Brewery.
Yes.
Shout out to Breckenridge Brewery, man.
I hear you guys ran out at the Buffs tailgate.
Did we? I left early. I had to go to the stadium.
And trust me, I've seen the photos. We had a lot.
Yeah.
We had a lot to last us. So I know I have it on good authority that this refill for this Saturday is of epic proportions. So thank you, Breck Brewery. They're all in on DNVR. They're all in on the Buffs. They're all in on our events and giving you the best experience as a DNVR member, listener, YouTube commenter, whatever. Buffs fan, you got it.
And we have another tailgate coming up this weekend. We'll tweet out our plans, but obviously...
Should be a chill weekend in Boulder anyways,
Yeah. Oh, it's going to be beautiful out there. It's kind of cooling down a little bit now.
It really is.
We don't have to be at the tailgate at 7 a.m. It's going to be in the middle of the day, so...
The game day is going to be there nice and early.
Oh, game day and big noon. It's going to be crazy next weekend. But shout out to Breckenridge Brewery. We got tons of beers on tap here at the DNVR bar. Make sure you use their beer locator at www.breckbrew.com to find a Breck Brew near you. And then shout Backus and Shanker. Backus and Shanker are here for you if you get hurt. They've been helping Colorado families for 25 or more years. What's up?
The best, Backus and Shanker.
Oh, they're awesome. You see their faces all over the place.
Absolutely. And I've seen some other injury lawyers in town with some outrageous takes on the Buffs. Backus and Shanker,
I haven't watched that yet.
They've got the Shedeur line, man. They take care of us. Like, I am so grateful they are who we are aligned with. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. They believe, huh?
Oh,
Is that what you're saying?
They believe, brother. They believe. Certainly a lot more than others, yes.
And you can believe in Backus and Shanker, too. No fees while they work on your case. No fees unless they win money for you, actually. So they're going to cover your back.
What a deal.
They got you covered. Ride share, pedestrians, car accidents, trucks, motorcycle, all that stuff. If you need to sue, smash the 222-2222. Backus and Shanker wins.
If I didn't know any better, I'd think they were advising Matt Rhule on how to,
how to navigate this situation
how to,
he's got himself into.
Slyly lie about all the things he's been doing. But I know they're better than that. They would never.
We don't care about them anymore. They're
Absolutely.
losers.
Right. Irrelevant losers. So true.
All right. What Coach Prime had to say today. He opened up with wonderful game, tremendous win, sellout crowd. Seeing the kids take the field at the conclusion of the game was unbelievable. He then goes, I'm happy and proud to be your coach and coach these young men.
Incredible.
He loves CU.
He really does. It's so great.
He loves Rick George. He loves this program.
Rick, man. I still can't get over that video with
the game
Peggy.
ball.
Oh,
Classic.
Man, that was so good.
It really was.
Play my theme music. I could play it over in my head a million times. It's so good. Oh.
Guys, also hit the like button right now, too. And subscribe to the podcast, Apple Podcasts or Spotify. We'd appreciate your 5-star review there.
Yeah, we're taking that to the moon.
Let's get it going.
It's time, man. Biggest program in the country. We got
Subscribe to the podcast.
Yes.
If you can't make the live show, we are in your pocket wherever you may be.
Damn straight.
All right, back to what Coach Prime said. He was asked on a message for this week's game after it was personal last week against Nebraska. Said, God hasn't given me a message yet. When he does, you'll all be the first to know.
Incredible.
He was asked about Jay Norvell, though. And Tyler King actually asked him, because Jay Norvell is a black coach as well. I think this is the first time in the history of this rivalry, two black coaches going against each other. So Coach Prime, I don't think he knew that either. He was kind of blown away when Tyler was telling him that.
I wasn't thinking about. It's awesome that isn't the headline of this game as it is so often, right? Because we want that to become less of a thing that's even worth
normal
talking, right?
Yes.
And I love that the Buffs. This is now 3 consecutive. Black head coaches. I love that the Rams are doing that. Jay's been in studio many times. He's amazing with Justin. So mad respect for him. Absolutely.
So just talking about that, Coach Prime says, I hear he's a good man, a great coach. I don't think he's actually met him yet. He said, he's got his young men playing hard. I have the utmost respect for him, truly. Really a lot of mutual respect. Quite a different tone from last week. Read between the lines.
Yeah, that's really cool.
Also, I guess Shiloh visited CSU back in the day.
Did he?
And Shedeur went with him.
Wow.
So
wow.
There's a little bit of history there. It was when Mike Bobo was the head coach, though.
Yeah.
You'll probably be talking about that more with Justin later in the week. But
interesting.
Yeah. So
that's
there's
a good one.
Little relationship there, or at least a little familiarity.
Yeah, totally.
Coach Prime was asked about Travis Jay and Brendan Gant coming back to practice. He said, I got to see how they work, how they fit in, if they know the scheme. They have tremendous work ethics. I like what I've seen thus far, but I need to see them on the field. And Coach Prime says this, it's honest how he talks about guys who aren't playing, how he talks about Cormani, how he talks about Alto. These guys, like, he truly wants them to be ready and on the field, and he will say that straight up in the media. He's not going to go, oh, they've done a great job, blah, blah, blah. He says it exactly how it is. Both these guys just got cleared to play or to practice, so they got helmets on. They're going through drills and stuff, but he's not in a rush to get them on the field either way.
Why would you be? I mean, it's why he recruited so much depth, and it's why he is a great coach. He understands we're not just throwing these guys to the wolves. We're going to get them coached up and ready. It's why this team shines through as so well coached when you watch them on Saturday, because the guys who are on the field have been prepared and know exactly what you do. And just watch Jake's pregame. Watch on the same exact YouTube channel. Tune in where we talk to the coaching staff before the game, and it resonates so clearly, the kind of preparation that this team has gone through. And they just need to, you just want the guys who are set up for success, plain and simple.
Reggie's
What are
saying
you
it.
laughing at?
Reggie in the comments, because Coach Prime said it today. He talked about their visit to CSU. And he's like, yeah, they must have been arguing a little bit. I guess Shiloh wanted to kick Shedeur out of the hotel room.
Wow. Yeah. Wow.
Oh, man. Coach Prime spoke about Shedeur.
They're the best, man.
Protecting Shedeur and the 8 sacks they gave up on Saturday. He said, we had several things that didn't go as they should. We hope to get the ball out of his hands a little quicker so he can protect himself.
Tempo wasn't necessarily there. The quick game
Shedeur mentioned that
there.
too, yeah, after the game.
That was by design.
Yeah.
I mean, I think they were really trying to just like make things, stifle the rhythm, slow it down, and that's where they had success once Shedeur was able to extend the play.
Mm-hmm.
That's the thing. Like, you can press and give us tight coverage the first 2 seconds. Eventually, your grip's gonna let loose, and that's what came through. I mean, in the final 3 quarters, really.
Coach Prime was asked about Juju Mitchell. He started. He played really well, especially in the first half. Coach Prime called him a really intelligent player. He really knows the game, and he's instinctive. More instinctive than the other linebackers, he said. This guy's played a lot of football. He's played at Tennessee, played at Texas, obviously had the situation at ASU. But I think at linebacker, it's even more apparent than other positions where that veteran just ability and how many snaps you've played through and already seen in your career, it just speeds up your game so much at that position. It's very obvious.
Marvin Ham, another more experienced off-ball backer, has played quite well in these first couple games. Might not be the most explosive, like he might not be living in past the line of scrimmage, but he's where he needs to be.
Coach Prime was asked directly about the Rocky Mountain Showdown and what he knows about it. He said he just learned about the Nebraska rivalry and he needs some time, needs some literature or something, he said. But he said, trust me, this isn't my first rodeo when it comes to that being rivalries. I think that the Falcons and Saints were quite the showdown. And he goes, I had 2 divorces that were a heck of a showdown, too.
I mean, that's a great rivalry right there. Great rivalry. Gosh, I got to find him an old McChesney pod where he's talking about the showdown with Joel Dreesen, an old Rams tight end. And boy, that breakdown those guys gave was epic. That's funny.
Coach Prime was asked about not being settled. Ah, damn it. I just clicked off my page. He said, we want to exceed expectations individually and combined as a team. We're winning, but we're not playing our best football.
No
and
doubt.
he said that Saturday after the game. This team has not even scratched the surface on what they're capable of being.
Yeah, in some ways, a worse game than week 1.
Right.
So hard to tell, man.
It's a process, man.
We really don't. We don't know who's good, who's bad. Like, you just got to let the season unfold.
Yep.
It's like that distraught Jets fan last night after the Aaron Rodgers injury. His wife's filming him, and she's going like, are you crying right now? And he goes, you don't understand the journey. That's college football, man. You don't understand
He's
the
right.
journey. Let the journey take place. Let it unfold, and
He's
then
right.
we'll go from there, yeah.
Then Coach Prime was asked about Matt Rhule. We already kind of talked about this. He said they were praying in the middle of the field. That's cool with me. Amen. Let's turn the page. Let's get on to Colorado State. Then Zay.
Find me videos of Nebraska players on their knees Video or photos on the logo. Show it to me. Show. Also, where is Matt Rhule and all that? He's praying with the team, but he's oddly absent in that whole situation, is he not?
You're telling the truth, brother.
Yeah. Show me. I'll make you a deal. You have 48 hours to show me a video or photo evidence of Nebraska players praying on the logo. If in those 48 hours that is not delivered, I will put the bat signal out to our production team to make a graphic of Matt Rhule with a Pinocchio long nose, okay? You have 48 hours. The clock starts now. I'm so glad I'm wearing my Joker shirt for a ultimatum like
Sassy
that.
Dre in the house, baby.
That's so good.
I love it.
There's a million cameras on the field. I would have seen it by now. I know I would have seen it, guys.
I know. Oh, I love it. Zay stepped on the podium after.
Yeah, what's it?
Basically, well, I asked him, like, what's it like for you? I mean, you've been in college quite a while. Now you're finally like showing your true potential and your ability at this stage in front of the entire nation. He goes, it's a blessing. I've been training, practicing for moments like these my whole life. Just talked about how excited he is to be here. He was basically asked about if he still feels he has room to grow as a player. He goes, definitely. There's always room for improvement. I feel like I can go out there and get 200. He said no one has played up to the standard yet. He was asked about Shedeur, what makes him great. And we all know this, but ball placement and accuracy, that's what he mentioned right off the bat. And then he goes, leadership and attention to detail. How he carries himself as a person and as a leader, it's different. Shedeur is him. Xavier Weaver, on the advantage of having the NFL Hall of Famers around the facility, just said it's amazing to have them in our room. They've all been level-headed, down-to-earth people. It's a blessing. Says he feels, really comfortable with them. They can ask him any questions, just pick their brain, and they've been more than willing to help out all these guys from all the reports.
At its heart, success in so many organizations, all walks of life, really all sorts of businesses, it comes down to great communication.
Right.
And you can see that so thoroughly with the staff, and you see it with the kids, man.
Yes.
Like they're not recruiting quiet guys. They're not recruiting bad communicators. I mean, good communicators are attracted by other good communicators, and it just seems like they've got such a great nucleus. And you can hear it in those quotes from Zay.
I mean, it obviously all starts with Coach Prime, but man, the standard he just demands, and it's just because who he is, who he was as a player, that just shines through so much. It's obviously shaped his, his personality, his confidence, how good he was as a player did that. And it's shaped him as a coach. Like, he demands the best out of his players. He expects the best out of them, and it raises the standard of everyone. Look at all the players from last year who didn't really do much. Marvin Ham, who are out there making plays in pass coverage and just doing great things. Like, he alone just elevates so many people, not even just in the program. He's elevated us. He's elevated his coaches. He elevates everyone that interacts or comes close to touching him, basically.
Yeah, it's absolutely true.
It's amazing, man. All right, last few things. Zay was asked about belief. He was asked about belief in the locker room, basically, because Coach Prime said after the game, we're up to about 80% belief in the locker room.
Yeah.
And Zay said, I think he took it more, he didn't want to talk directly about his teammates. But he said, I know there's a lot of people out there that don't believe. They think it's a fluke or lucky what's going on in Boulder. He spoke about the O-line and was kind of asked about them getting the 8 sacks that Shedeur had on Saturday. He said, the O-line is special, though. We can only go as far as they can go. Every week, someone from the other team always talks about how they're our weakest link. They're leading the way for us. Then finally, Zay was asked about, you had 2 early games. Now you have a late game. And if that's any different or harder, he goes, we're just playing football. It's just a little bit darker.
Yeah.
Last thing, I missed this one.
It's going to be a rowdy crowd, Jake.
Coach Prime gave an update on Van Wells, who left the game with a limp. He was hurt. He said he's healing. The thing about it, this is a game where it's next man up. We have the depth that we need. We could always use more. We're okay at that position. Hopefully Van gets better soon.
Who's number 2 on the depth chart for center?
I think that's Hank Zelinskas.
Wow.
Or I think I said his last. I probably said that wrong. But he was a freshman that came in, play center. He was the guy who stepped in the game.
Gosh, that concerns me a little bit.
It's not ideal, but
This is where not having that extra depth with guys like Tyler Brown comes back to bite you a little bit.
But we'll see.
Wow, that's concerning.
All right. Last few things that we have to talk about
All right.
is the new Louis luggage coming in.
Woo.
First off, tons of recruits at the game. We got a basketball commitment. Dorian Uwuchukwu, a 4-star center, committed to Tad and the Buffs. He was one of the guys that was on TV when like Spencer Dinwiddie and all those guys were pointing at they're coming out of that timeout. You know what I'm talking about?
I know that video, and I was asking Harrison Wind, Buff for Life, graduate, and our superstar Nuggets reporter, like, do you remember any time in the Tad era seeing two recruits, sideline on the field with two former Buffs who are in the NBA doing that kind of pitch? And he was like, no way, man.
Yep.
Like, it's the prime effect extending to the basketball program. And how easy was that? Like, I saw that video on Twitter. I was like, oh, shit, one of these kids is signing? Like,
I know.
I don't have to be the Oracle to figure that out.
Amazing.
Like, why would you not? You went to Boulder. It was gorgeous. The crowd was raucous. It's all anyone's talking about.
Yeah.
What's not to like?
I mean, again, just to go back to Coach Prime, he elevates everyone and everything around him. The basketball program. I mean, now these guys go on TV and it's like, oh, I mean, I can't pass this up now. You know what I mean? Like,
Right.
He's in this like student section for the game. Like it's game over, man.
It's incredible. I mean, and it's kind of what Coach McCartney was preaching, Ryan, 40 years ago.
Yeah.
It's not hard to recruit to Boulder, man. It really isn't.
No.
You show some people like a bit of a path to winning, things get pretty freaking easy really quickly. You see, he gave you the spelling guide.
Zelinskis.
Kiss, it's in the name.
Kiss. What? Zelinskis.
Zelinskis.
Is that not it?
Nailed it. Yeah. What did Jake say,
What?
Ryan?
What?
I'm name blind. I heard none of it. So you tell me.
Whatever. This name's easy. Jordan Seaton.
Spent too much time with me.
4-star 247 Sports Composite. The number 1 rated interior O lineman in the country, the 39th overall player in the 2024 class.
Sign me up.
Coming to Colorado this weekend for the CSU game. He's from IMG Academy, 6'5", 287, out of Washington, D.C. He's got all the offers. He's got great valuations. He was invited to the Freshman All-American Bowl back in 2020. The blurb on his 247 Sports scouting page says he could be an early round draft pick. And this is when, Coach Prime said it. Jesus. Coach Prime said it after the TCU game.
Gonna get Matt Rhule, I guess.
He said, I'm about to get comfortable. And I think this is him getting comfortable. When he starts to get the big guys in, when he starts to get all the top 50 recruits in,
oh, man.
it's over.
That's what I'm saying in my head when I start to act sassy on the pod.
I'm about to get comfortable.
I'm about to get comfortable. A 6'5" interior O-lineman with 6'5", 287. That's a frame that you can like touch up so nicely. I'm guessing at IMG he's playing tackle probably at that size.
I think so, yeah.
There's no way a guy like that good, 6'5", 287, is playing guard in high school. I will ban it. I'll drive down to Florida and put the guy outside as a bookend if it's not.
He's listed
already.
at offensive tackle on 3. Okay. So
I mean, but this is exactly the kind of guy you want to take this offense to the next level.
Exactly. So he's going to be in Boulder this weekend. You guys remember Boo Carter?
Yeah, I do actually.
He was supposed to complete the trio with Winston Watkins and Aaron Butler.
Yes.
He ended up committing to Tennessee on June 17th. He's coming back on an unofficial visit this weekend.
Oh,
Boo's back in the house.
Hell yeah.
No one is safe.
Hell yeah.
They're coming for everyone. It doesn't matter where you're committed to. If there is even the tiniest interest in Coach Prime in Colorado, he's going to get them on campus, and they're going to get the full pitch, basically. Not even the pitch. They're just going to see what's going on.
Yeah. Yeah, they're going to see what's real. I mean, it's going to be Flip City soon enough, man.
Soon enough for sure.
That's the thing. Like, as good as Huey was recruiting this offseason,
He's just getting started.
Was nothing in comparison to how he can recruit now that there's like proof of concept going on every Saturday as they are like the story of the entire sport, you know?
Yep.
Now it's just like, oh, yeah, it's over, bro.
It's insane. Mm-hmm. It's insane. 2 guys will be enrolling early in this 2024 class. Talon Chandler announced on Twitter that he will be enrolling after this semester. He's a 3-star interior offensive lineman from Missouri.
Yeah.
From Nevada High School. And then Brandon Davis-Swain, the 4-star defensive lineman out of Michigan. I think it's West Bloomfield he's from.
Dude.
He
was get the big guys in early.
He was at the game.
Do it. Yeah.
He was there hanging out with Travis and all that stuff.
I know.
Yeah, from West Bloomfield, 4-star, 247 Sports composite recruit, top 300 player. He said that he will be enrolling in January as well. So there's a possibility this team is good enough. They make a bowl game late enough into bowl season. We've got Talon Chandler and Brandon Davis-Swain practicing with the team before this bowl game.
Bad dudes from the state of Michigan coming to the Buffs. That's a recipe for success right there. Yeah.
That's about it.
So dope, man.
Yeah.
He's crazy good. He'd be getting heavy rotation minutes this season.
Oh, for sure. For sure. How much time do we have, Alyssa? Okay.
You better smash that thumbs up, guys.
All right. Get your questions in real quickly. We'll go through them really fast. Shout out to Shady Rays. Take on the Summit Gear Belt to last. Shady Rays has you covered. You're going to need them for all these tailgates that we're going to have coming through. I know we're leaving the summer. We're getting out of the warm weather, but we'll still be spending plenty of time outside. Shady Rays has you back to their lost and broken replacement program. Go to the Park Meadows Mall or shop online at shadyrays.com. Use that code DNVR, and you'll get 50% off 2 or more pairs of sunglasses. Try for yourself. The Shades rated 5 stars by over 250,000 people. And then Game Time. Get the tickets without the stress using Game Time. Not just games, but all your events, concerts, whatever's going on and wherever you are. But if you are trying to get to Boulder or to any Road Buffs game this year, make sure you check out Game Time. You can preview where you're sitting, all that good stuff. And if you download the Game Time app and create an account, you can use the code DNVR. You'll get $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account. Redeem code DNVR for $20 off. Download Game Time today. Lowest tickets, or last minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed.
Nailed it.
All right. Let's run through some of these.
Yes.
Robert, is there a matchup anywhere that favors CSU in this game? I just don't see one, at least in the TCU and NU games. There are some concerns. It's a just different class of opponent. So
yeah, it'll be nice to see the O-line, especially the bookends against a guy like Mo Kamara, who's been one of the nation's leaders in sacks and pressures the last couple seasons. See, he's a very good edge rusher. So I do think Savion and Tank will have their hands full when they've got one-on-ones and obvious passing downs against him.
And then Torrey Horton versus Travis, or Torrey Horton versus Omarion Miller, or Omarion Cooper, or Carter Stoutmeyer, whoever it is in the secondary. That'll be a matchup to watch as well.
Yeah, those are the top guys for sure.
They do have a freshman quarterback starting, though, for the first time, I believe.
They do. And a guy who only saw spot duty at the end of the Washington State game looked quite a bit better than their starter. Gives them a little more dual versatility, and a guy who just played with a bit more confidence. Clay Millen just wasn't getting rid of the rock at all for that Rams air raid offense. And when you don't, when you're not getting rid of the ball quickly, you're really done.
Yep. Jay, you can read that, brother.
Dre, sei contento della prestazione di Cristiano Pulisic? He really Italianized even Christian Pulisic's name. A Milano. Please respond in Italian first. Sì, secondo me sta giocando benissimo, è una stella ed era esattamente l'esterno destro che ci serviva. So yeah, Christian Pulisic, Captain America, he's playing for my soccer team. He's been phenomenal in his first 3 games, and I'm loving what I'm seeing from him. That was the question. That was my answer.
was
I said he's
amazing.
exactly what we needed on the right wing. That's right. I know ball in 2 languages. Yeah.
I love it. Hit the like button, guys. Come on, let's get to at least 500 or 550 by the time we end this show. G3 highlights. Do we go up if we beat CSU? I think you need people to lose this weekend to really see a shot up in the rankings. I mean, you beat Nebraska, you only go up from 22 to 18. So I think this week's just about taking care of business, getting out of this game healthy, and then just hoping you can build upon the momentum that you have right now.
I think there's a possibility to move up style points here. You never know what can happen in college football, who can create the upset.
Sure.
I wouldn't expect them to go down with a win. I'll say that much.
Yeah. CJ, Jake, is CU really trying to reconstruct Coach Prime's contract to keep him for years to come? Look, this is, Jeremy Bloom put out that tweet, give him whatever, TV revenue, all this stuff.
Yep.
Paul Feinbaum's out here talking about, he's Alabama's #1 target for when Saban leaves. Let's get through this season, and then I think we can talk about the money and the contract and that stuff. But he signed a 5-year contract.
Absolutely, he did. And
So-
there's a lot of incentives in that.
Yes.
At the same time, I would say locking him down as long as possible, making it as hard contractually for
Sure.
him to leave, should definitely be a priority.
Absolutely.
Because, it's so unbelievable that why wouldn't you want more of this? It's
Right.
just incredible.
So
So I
think-
appreciate the sentiment. I think you're right, though. Like, now isn't necessarily
let's get through the
the
season.
time. Yeah.
Justin with the super chat. Alabama in here showing love. Appreciate you, man. Thank you,
Awesome.
guys.
Yeah.
Lamar with the back-to-back super chats. He says, do you guys think Coach Prime is overprotected of the rehab players due to his own playing time injuries? I mean, sure. He went through a long time playing in the NFL. Like, he knows
It's a
the
great
value that his body has, or these players' bodies have. And he doesn't want to see them, throw it away, trying to get back too early.
Right.
When potentially ruining a whole career. So it's the advantages of having a former player and a man like this as your head coach.
Sure is. It's true. That's why he's different.
Lamar again, I think the athletics at MSU is dead in the water at this point. It sounded like the school was trying to cover it too. What coach would want that job? I mean, it's a very sticky situation, man.
A couple of jobs in the Big Ten like that right now, man.
Yeah.
Fucking wild.
Yeah. Next one, Alyssa. BK Travels, Jake and Dre, do you think they would have to turn recruits away if CU gets a bunch of top 4 to 5 stars now showing interest? Look, Aaron Butler's dad put this tweet out, I think, after the TCU game. If you're on the fence, if you are still considering whether Colorado is right for you or not, you got to figure it out really quickly because these spots are going to fill up. We're not going to see the roster turnover that we saw last year again this year. I'm expecting some turnover for sure. But there's not going to be 65, almost 70 new players. So if you want to
Then after that, like the turnover of 10 more,
Right.
guys like Zico who'd already been brought
Yes.
in, then heading out. That's not happening again.
So if you want to get in, if you want to play for Coach Prime, you better commit.
I would say one thing that I don't think is being highlighted nearly enough about Coach Prime, his staff, and what's led to this immediate rebuild is at the heart of all this are very clearly some extraordinary and like truly special and elite talent evaluators. And who they are already recruiting and who they are already getting commits from, even if they might be a 3-star, they are not getting that guy because they think that's the best they can get. They're getting that guy because they're evaluating him properly, and they think he's probably being undervalued by the recruiting service and fits their culture and their system to where their game's going to play up higher than a 3-star ranking.
Absolutely.
So you got to factor that in too.
Look at Talon Chandler. And if you guys have been following him and how he's performed early in his senior year of high school, he's like putting up double-digit pancakes. He's playing both ways. Like, he is making a real impact.
Right.
And showing that he's better than whatever that rating he had before the season was. Same with Danny O'Neal, the quarterback that they got as well. He is balling out, man. I mean, throwing the ball, running the ball. These guys are going to elevate. Like, I don't think they're going to be 3-stars after this year. They're going to move up. So
For sure.
PD Swag, my guy, tell us the truth about does CU get to 10 wins this season? If so, what AP ranking will they achieve? SCO Buffs.
10 wins is you'll be a top 8 ranked team.
Yeah, you'll be in the playoff conversation,
especially with the schedule they have.
I mean, we'll see. I mean, the pack is really strong this year, So I'm not gonna. I believe in this team. I believe in what they're doing. I love the talent that they have, but this is a very talented conference with a lot of very good quarterbacks. So I think there's definitely a pathway to 10 wins. And if they get that high, I mean, you said top 8. I mean, we're knocking on the door of top 5 at that point.
10 wins is 3 losses?
Well, at least 10 wins, yeah, I guess so. 2 losses and then a bowl game for sure. So
could be there. I mean, it's crazy that we're even considering it
I know.
now, considering what the expectations should have been coming into the season. Ask me once we're on October 1st.
There you
and
go.
I'll feel like I have a much better feel for that.
We'll know a lot more by the end of the month for sure after they play USC and Oregon. Warren with the super chat with the money coming in. How long before CU baseball? That's a good question. I'd imagine at least a few years.
Yeah.
I mean, I think they have to build a baseball field out there anyway as well. So.
You would have to figure out a Title IX sport to add and counter that. And then, I mean, I think there'd be some logistics of like, how would you start a baseball program in a new conference, which is a pretty well-established baseball conference in the Big 12. So there'd be all those different factors to figure out.
Yep.
The state is so ready for a Division I baseball program.
Yep.
It'd be amazing.
All right. I'm not even going to get into it.
Oh, God.
All right. We'll see what happens later on this week. I'm sure Neely's going to come back down. We've got some other people who really want to come on the show and talk Buffs too.
Sure they do.
So it's going to be exciting.
On, huh?
You're my guy, though, brother.
Of course.
We've got.
Always a pleasure.
Hold on, I'll tell you what we got tomorrow. We're talking to a player and a coach. I believe it is. Well, I don't want to speak out of turn. It's Coach Nick Williams. So we'll talk to Coach Williams tomorrow and a player, assumedly a defensive lineman.
Big time.
But yeah, we'll have some announcements on this weekend coming out pretty soon as well. Anything else?
I think that's it, man.
All right. Shout out to you guys, chat. We'll be back tomorrow. Let's go Buffs.
Let's go Buffs.